everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Pet Pals. I'm Bethany Davidson, the Humane Educator here at Frederick County Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center. Animal wrangling for us with one of our young cats is Sean Snyder, our volunteer coordinator. And first up, we have Sanderson. Sanderson is a return to shelter, but if you're a frequent visitor or volunteer, you probably won't recognize him because the last time he was here, he was just a tiny baby kitten. Now he's about 11 months old. He used to be named Tortuga, and he had a friend that lived with him, but they got adopted separately, and now he's back as Sanderson due to some allergy issues in the household. Apparently the 2-year-old in the house developed some pretty severe cat allergies. So for the child's safety, Sanderson was brought back to us so that we could find him a new forever home. He is a super sweet guy, although he's feeling a little bit nervous about being on the show today, taken from his familiar environment to this new space. But he's known for being super friendly and very cuddly and very playful. He has a ton of great qualities that people are typically looking for in their cat. He wasn't thrilled with being carried all the way out here, but if you stand and hold him at his cage, he's very content being held. Definitely loves the attention. He is known to be a guy that likes to sleep at the foot of your bed, which a lot of cat people want. They want that like cuddly feeling. And he does really, really well with children, despite the fact that they were in his last home allergic to him. He was great with the kids, and he was also great with kids that were a little older when he was younger in his foster home. So we have a ton of information about him from all of his various people, and his foster mom still works here and still gives him special treatment and talks about how great he is. So he's definitely going to be, if you're looking for that kind of good all-around cat that has a good mix of playful and cuddly and is going to be great with your family, then he is definitely a guy that you might want to consider taking a look at.
Like you said, since he's lived in 2 homes, we have a ton of information about him. How does he feel about dogs?
So when he was a younger kitten, he did live in a foster home that has 3 dogs in it, and not a huge fan. Something that his foster mom said if he lived with them longer, he probably could have acclimated, but once he got adopted into an only pet household, his love for dogs definitely waned some more. We did take him to an event recently, and there were some dogs walking around, and when one of the dogs got a little curious, he definitely showed his discontent at the dog being in his personal space bubble. So, that's not really something that he would prefer to do. He definitely would prefer to be, an only pet, or, maybe live with another cat, because that's something that he's done before. But dogs just really aren't going to make him feel super comfortable, and that's going to be a big transition for him. But overall, he is a fantastic guy. And if you want to make him part of your family, the first step is going to be going to our visitation booking site, which is visitfcac.as.me to book that appointment to meet with Sanderson. Our next dog is Atari, and he is definitely a beautiful guy, but not necessarily for everybody. He likes to come in hot. He has a very high energy level, which is not uncommon for, husky type mixes. And because he's still, a very young adolescent dog at 8 to 10 months old, he's in that phase. Adolescent dogs are kind of like teenagers, anywhere from like 6 months to 2 years old. They're like pushing their boundaries. Can I get away with this? Even if you did like tons of training when they're young dogs, once they get to that age, they're like, I don't know that I want to sit anymore. What's going to happen if I don't? So he's definitely a dog that needs some training, some consistency. Not what you would call like a turnkey dog by any stretch. And given his breed, like he definitely has a lot of energy, and he's going to need a lot of exercise. Things that he definitely needs to work on. As you can see, he's very jumpy and mouthy. He is a dog that, this breed is they're bred for working, and they need a task. And so if you have a task for him to do, or some sort of dog-related sports activity like agility, or any of those other things might be a good outlet for that energy. He is very trainable. He does already know sit, so he's got that down, and he can calm down. And the staff say that when he's in his calm mode, he's very sweet and very affectionate, but he kind of bounces back and forth pretty quickly. So definitely something to think about. We are not looking to send him to a home with small children. So, small children we typically say is under 6, but, using your best judgment, do your kids have experience with dogs like this? Even if they're a little bit older, but they're not used to that, then it might not be a good fit. So really just thinking about, is he going to be a dog that's going to stay in your home? A lot of people like Huskies because they like how they look. But you want to make sure that the temperament of the dog, the activity level of the dog fits your lifestyle. You're not just going in like, he's going to look great in our Christmas card type of a deal.
Yeah. So we are looking for folks with some kind of dog experience. Why is that?
So, as you can see, he is very jumpy. He's very mouthy. And if you don't have a experience with working with a dog of your own in the past, you might not know how to de-escalate those situations when he's getting very, amped up and aroused. And then that could lead to a bite or something like that. He could knock kids over, he could hurt them. So we are looking for somebody that's going to have some sort of dog experience in the past. Husky experience is always better because they are very unique breed. So, you know what to do, you have the experience so that you can, work on that mouthiness and teach him that that's not okay. There are better alternatives. You can de-escalate those situations. You're committed to getting him the training that he needs because he doesn't necessarily walk well on a leash either. So he has a lot of things that he needs to work on. And if you've never trained a dog at this age that's really working on those things can be difficult. And we don't want to see him, brought back to the shelter. We obviously are looking to place him in his forever home from the get-go. So if you have that experience and you think that you can handle this high energy guy, the first step to making him part of your family is going to be going to visit fcac.as.me to book that visitation. Our next guest is Jones. Last episode, we had Barnaby on the show, and Jones is Barnaby's brother. When they first came in, it was a little bit weird because Jones was more shy and Barnaby was a little bit more outgoing, and they've seemed to have done a little flip-flop as they've gotten comfortable. And as you can see, Jones is super friendly and affectionate now. All he wants to do is jump in Sean's lap and give him kisses. He is about a year old, and he is chocolate and white. So he's doing a lot better, but still, does take a little time to warm up in new environments. So a new adopter should be aware of that. But definitely settling in really well. He is very muscular, very strong. So making sure you're working on those good manners just to make sure that he maintains that, manageable thing. If he wanted to pull you down, he probably could. So just really working on all of those things. He seems to enjoy being outside. He takes a very good picture. He's a very photogenic guy. Happy to play with the toys. And as we mentioned when Barnaby was on the show, these guys did come in together as strays. They have been interacting here in our facility. So if you wanted to adopt both of them, because they have lived with each other in the past, we're not opposed to that if you're willing to take on that challenge. But they do not have to be adopted together. Typically we only want to adopt one dog out at a time unless they have previously lived together. So that is an option if you're interested, because they do seem to enjoy each other's company. We have recently allowed them to be, playing more in their kennel because they're in kennels that are side by side. So we pull up that door and let them hang out together during the day. We walk them together when they're outside. So they have still maintained that kind of friendship and bond, but not a requirement to adopt them together.
So like you said, Barnaby and Jones get along, play fine, but what about other animals?
So this guy has a pretty high prey drive. So while, he may be able to be friends with dogs, your dog, other dogs out in the world, he should not really live with anything small, furry. We don't want him to be living with small animals, with cats, possibly even maybe some chickens. We have some roosters outside, so we'll see how he does with those roosters walking by, but definitely being aware of that. Like that's not going to be a good suitable household for him to live in for the safety of the other animals. But also when we're talking about, animals with a prey drive and we're saying maybe they shouldn't live with cats and things like that, that's also an indicator that when you're out on a walk, you should be a little bit more vigilant. Not necessarily because you're going to come across a cat, but if they see a squirrel or something, they might, if you're not observant and paying attention, they might run after it, pull you down, you might be caught off guard. So just, it gives you when we say the high prey drive, it gives you a lot of things to be aware of. And those are things that you can work on, making sure that he's not going to chase after stuff, but definitely something to be aware of. He's not the only animal with a high prey drive here. Harley likes to chase small furries. Evan does. It's not an uncommon thing. It's not necessarily wrong. It's normal for dogs, but you do want to make sure that you're setting all the animals in your household up for success and that you're going to be able to handle them out on a walk. If you think that Jones here is going to be a great addition to your household and you want to see if he's going to mesh with your family, go to visit fcac.as.me to book an appointment to come in and meet him. Breaking up the boys club with one of our ladies this is Tess, and Tess is another kind of fairly young dog, 1 to 2 years old, and she is a terrier mix, like many of the dogs that we have available for adoption, and she is super sweet. You know, we have a lot of dogs that are like difficult to walk just because they pull and haven't really been taught leash manners, and all of the behavior reports from our staff just say how easy Tess is. She's just super sweet and very handleable and friendly. So she's getting rave reviews in terms of just like, you know, she's kind of an easy dog to deal with and work with here at the shelter. Like, it's always nice when you get a dog out and they walk nicely on the leash. They're not super crazy. She's super friendly, and what she really excels at is giving you like the sad puppy dog face. Like, she has aced the adopt me puppy face. If you look at her pictures on our website, she definitely knows how to manipulate your emotions there with her big eyes and her cute little face. She is, very playful and definitely loves to cuddle and get some pets. She's been a little bit hit or miss with her reaction with other dogs, depending on where she is and how she's feeling. You know, there have been times where when she's outside of her kennel, she's great with the dogs. When they're in the kennel, she's a little hit or miss. And some of the dogs, they've been like, oh, she's a little bit nervous around them, afraid of the loud noises. So that's why it's really important to make sure that if you have a dog and you're interested in adopting one of ours, you do bring them in for that meet and greet to see if it's going to be a good mix. Because, you know, just like with us people, we don't necessarily love every other person we meet. And some dogs, their personalities just don't mix either. So we want to make sure it's going to be a good fit. And, you know, that's something that Tess does need to work on a little bit, just making sure that she's feeling confident around whatever doggy friends she might have.
So she does startle easily. Here at the shelter, you think she'll always be that way?
So, you know, we were talking about that. I was talking about that with some of the other staff. And the shelter is a very, very stressful environment. It's not a home environment. And so sometimes their behavior is a little bit different here than it would be in a home environment. They're definitely more, on high alert here. And so when she does hear some noises and things that are unexpected, like, they dropped a corunda bed and it startled her a little bit. But she recovers nicely. We don't want to limit the type of home that she can go to because the shelter is stressful. So, we're talking about, can she live with small kids and things like that? We think that, Tess would do well with younger children. But, it's something to be aware of, are your kids dog savvy? Things like that. Are they, nice, quiet kids, or are they a little bit louder, a little bit more rambunctious? So there is a sliding scale there. But I do think that once she's settled into a home and gets into a routine and she's not around the high stress of this environment, she won't be as startled as easily. But there's always things to think about. We don't want to limit where she could go because not all kids are the same. And not all households in terms of noise levels and things like that are the same. So using your best judgment. And if you have questions, you can obviously talk to us and we'll let you know if we think that Tess would be a good fit for your family, or maybe another dog would be a better option for you guys. But if Tess is won you over with her, soulful puppy dog eyes, and you want to see if she's going to click with your family, you can go to visit fcac.as.me to start that process. On our last episode, we brought you a much smaller pair in Nellie and Zeus, a little less energetic, definitely less total poundage. In this episode, we have Dixie Ann and Ruger. So our larger dog, the lab mix, is Dixie Ann, and then the Australian Shepherd is Ruger. And they came to us through the health of their owner. Their owner was having some health issues and unable to care for them. So they're here looking for another chance at a forever home. They are definitely super filled with energy. They are dogs that are, pretty easy. Their temperaments are a little bit different, but they do rely on each other for some support. So obviously, as an Australian Shepherd, Ruger is definitely busy and wants something to do all the time and very high energy, and is definitely going to need a family that's committed to having an outlet for him in terms of his energy level and exercise. They are dogs that are meant to herd and work, and so they need some sort of activity to fill that space. Otherwise, they start to herd your children or your other animals and things like that. So definitely being aware of that. He is a little bit less good with his leash manners and things like that. And then you have Dixie Ann, who is a little bit more relaxed. She walks really nice. All the kennel techs talk about how easy she is to go out on her potty walks, just kind of chilling out. And he tends to rely on her for emotional support. They are housed together. But definitely have some differences. Whereas she, super easygoing, but doesn't necessarily like to share her high value treats with Ruger. She's like, those are mine. Stay away from my Kong. We're not sharing. Just being aware that they both have the individual things that they need to work on, but they're a great pair together. It could be a lot of fun, but definitely need to make sure that they're getting what they need. In terms of exercise and training, for sure.
So we have them listed as better together. How does that differ from bonded?
So bonded means that we will absolutely 100% not separate the animals, that they have to be adopted together. They will suffer in terms of like their overall emotional well-being. And sometimes you can see, medical or behavioral decline when they're that stressed. Whereas better together means that we would prefer that they be adopted as a pair, but it's not a requirement. We often see this listing on cats that have lived together for a long time. And so we're making that assessment because these guys have always lived together. And we have noticed that Ruger does rely on Dixie Ann for some emotional support. But we did not list them as bonded because we are noticing the longer they're here, the more independent he is becoming. He's relying on her less, and she's kind of like indifferent to him a little bit. But we do think that if you're going to separate them, that Ruger would be better suited to live in a home with another dog, so that he can get some support from another canine friend, whereas Dixie Ann is going to be perfectly content to be by herself. So that's something to think about. Two different energy levels, but as you can see, they can wear each other out. That's the benefit of getting two. If you're worried about, how is Ruger going to get all of his energy out? Well, if you have Dixie Ann, they can play and do all of those things. And if you're looking, you like two dogs, but you don't know if they're going to like each other, these guys already do. So those are a benefit. But, really think about, separating them and making, do you have a dog friend for Ruger, those types of things, or, can you take on both of them and making sure that it's going to be a good fit for your household? But, either of those things are options. But again, separating is only an option for these guys. If you're looking at, say, Nellie and Zeus, they are a bonded pair and have to be adopted together. We won't separate them. If you're interested in taking home double trouble here, two is better than one scenario here, or you're interested in maybe looking at them as individuals, you can do that by going to visit fcac.as.me. It's been a while since Harley has been on the show, so we decided to revisit her again, and she's just as fun as ever. But she still hasn't found that perfect forever family. So to kind of recap, Harley is a ball of energy. She loves to play. She loves to cuddle. She loves to show off her agility. She loves to sit on furniture like a human. She uses the chair as you would. She can sit in a desk chair, a lounge chair. She's also incredibly adept at jumping on the counter in our front office area. Definitely likes to jump up there and explore. She's very cat-like reflexes, but according to people who have owned her, does not do those things in a home environment. So she's just, bored here, I guess, but knows that she shouldn't be jumping on counters in her house. Harley is a dog that can make dog friends, but is better suited to probably be an only dog in a household. She's very particular about her friends. She prefers guys. She prefers quiet guys that aren't necessarily super crazy. So like right now, like in the past, she's been friends with Achilles. She is currently friends with, Johnny B. She likes living next to Rufus, who are just kind of quiet, easygoing guys. She has played in playgroup. But sometimes you have to know with Harley, like, okay, Harley's done. She needs to take a break, so that it doesn't escalate into like now a tantrum and a little bit of a sibling rivalry type fight, right? She's not a dog that would do well with small animals. Again, we talked about, prey drive and things like that. We're also looking for families with, older children, not necessarily super young kids, again, those kids under 6. And because Harley has been adopted and returned, unfortunately, we haven't been able to find that right fit for her. We have learned that she really doesn't do well in an apartment setting, because she needs a lot of exercise. And if you live in an apartment where you have to go out and take her somewhere or to a dog park, maybe because she doesn't do as great with all other dogs, that she isn't getting that outlet. And sometimes when they don't get enough exercise, you can kind of see a behavioral decline and they can be a little bit naughty. So we're looking for people who have, more space, either to have her in a fenced backyard or in their backyard on a long line, so she can really get the daily exercise that she needs.
So staff has been working with Harley on a specific issue. What's that issue?
That's right. So Harley looks like a little bit of a chunker, but she is a powerhouse in terms of the muscles department, and she can pull like a freight train. So our staff has been working with her on some polite leash walking. Because that's one of the factors that's been an issue for her in her previous homes is, if she was living in an apartment, she was really difficult to walk, so they weren't walking her as much. So then she wasn't getting as much exercise, wasn't getting out, and they were seeing some behavioral shifts in her. So we're trying to work on the walking, but it's always really important to remember that a tired dog is a happy dog. So as much exercise and enrichment that you can give, not only Harley, but any of the dogs that are in your family, is going to make them happier and better behaved. So we have been working with that, and we would go over the things that we've been doing to help her with that with any adoptive family. Typically, she's on a harness, also spends a lot of time working with the gentle leader. So we'll go over all of those things with Harley's new family. If you want the fun-loving and larger-than-life personality that Harley has in your household, then go to visit fcac.as.me to start that process. We hope that you've enjoyed meeting some of our adoptable pets. As always, if you didn't see something that is going to be the right fit for you, check out our website. Come and visit, because we have many more animals looking for forever homes here in Frederick County.